Hello and welcome to another edition of the Father and Son Pastime Podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin.
That's my dad. Welcome to a special Father's Day anniversary special to our Pastime Podcast show. I just gave my dad a lovely T-shirt, so now if you would like a T-shirt, we can order more for you for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, so little fun design. The Father and Son Pastime Podcast is now official. And we're going to be changing our YouTube banners and YouTube, all that stuff. So we'll have plenty of different and more active, engaging social media as well. Today's feature is the New York Yankees on this podcast show. If you've been joining us, we've been doing the dream teams of each MLB franchise. So it's only fitting on Father's Day we do one of the best, if not the best, depending who you're talking to, MLB franchises ever. This dream team is absolutely chock full of Hall of Famers. All of my positions are Hall of Famers except one, Dad. So that's my little surprise, and we'll get to where that Hall of Famer isn't, I guess. There's going to be a lot of snubs on this roster just due to the Yankees' naturally deep roster and Monument Park. I mean, there's going to be people that are in the Hall of Fame that don't make this list. So Yankee fans, just keep that in mind going through that. I'm sure if you have ever done this with your friends or family, talking about who was the best pitcher or something like that, or first baseman, you're going to miss some incredibly talented players in MLB history.
One of the things I discovered is a lot of positions go four deep.
Yeah.
So to choose among the four deep and great players like right field and shortstop and all that, you had some just outstanding players, and you're like they're all like 1A, 1B, C and D.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you this is fun to do, and there's some names that come out like my God, together they make a great team. But it was a lot of fun to do this one.
Two considerations. This won't really affect, obviously, the Yankees at all, but we always say they have to have at least 3 years of team service time to be part of a franchise's, team history, if that makes any sense. And you have to play the position that you were most known for playing, or at least have served a sufficient amount of playing time at. So you can't make Babe Ruth a catcher, for example, if that makes any sense. If you were looking at right fielders or center fielders, you might be able to put one of those as DH. That's an argument. I mean, we hear that when we're talking about American League teams, but I can't make DiMaggio a third baseman, if that makes any sense. So we start with catcher. We do each position. We talk about our pick for starting pitcher, reliever, setup man, closer.
Relievers are like 5 deep.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty simple choice for the closer.
Yeah.
And then we just end with talking about our favorite manager, as well as the logo that we would like to be affiliated with this all-time team roster, if that makes any sense. The Yankees, for such a 100-plus-year-old franchise, you think the Yankees would have more logo changes. They've really only had 4.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that at the end. Dad, it's Father's Day. You start us off. Who is your pick for catcher?
Bill Dickey.
Not Yogi Berra.
You know what? Yogi Berra is fantastic.
Okay.
But when I did the research, Bill had better numbers and longer with the Yankees than Yogi. Yogi, I know, is fantastic and all that stuff, but when you do the most popular Yankees, he's still in the top 10 popular Yankees. He was amazing, I think, 17 years as their catcher. All those years, he almost had a 300 average as a catcher back in the day.
Okay, starting off controversially, I'm choosing Yogi on that one. In my opinion, the best American League catcher of all time, secondary to Johnny Bench all time.
Wow.
Johnny Bench is National League, Yogi is American.
Yeah.
Those two, I think Bench is better, obviously, defensively than Yogi. But Yogi is has the most World Series rings on any player in history.
Yeah, he
won 10.
Yeah, I mean, that was when the Yankees were the king, and they had a great team back then, and they stayed with that one team. And granted, he was the centerpiece and all that, but when I did the research, it's amazing, his stats.
All right.
And then, just to give him a quick shout, Thurman Munson, if he didn't, tragically die in a plane accident, he was revered with the Yankees and all that stuff. And for him to be third with, Elston Howard as well, I mean, it's unbelievable how many great catchers they had.
Controversy already. Who's your pick at catcher? For first base, I'll go. Lou Gehrig is my pick on that one. I did not know that Lou Gehrig had so many seasons with crazy numbers of RBIs. He had 7 seasons of 150 RBIs or more.
Right. That's one that he was set up well because the two guys above him were table setters, and then behind him was Babe.
Yep.
So, we're talking like, we'll pick your poison and all that stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so, Lou was unbelievable as far as just consistent and everything else, and the Iron Man and everything. So Lou, it's great. I mean, it's a great movie, with him and all that stuff, and tragically, he got the ALS disease and everything else. But what a great player he was for a long time.
Absolutely. So your pick is Lou as well, not any
Yes,
crazy other random person.
Joe Pepitone.
John Boyte. At second base, Dad, who do you have? There's two names that I think rise to the top. Who's your choice?
Willie Randolph.
Okay, all right.
Willie Randolph was a big part of the resurgence of the Yankees. He was with them for, I think, like 15 plus years. He was a cornerstone, then became a coach as well. But as far as defensively, he may have been the best defensive second baseman the Yankees have had. And again, just a very, legendary second baseman for the Yankees.
So, all right. So, I don't really know anything about Bill Dickey. I'm assuming he's not Hall of Fame. Obviously, Lou is in the Hall of Fame, and Willie's not. So, you've only had one Hall of Famer so far.
So far.
This is my third straight Hall of Famer. I'm going with Tony Lazerri.
Interesting.
So,
that's a throwback.
It is a throwback. High average, high RBIs. I think he was like a classic 15 home runs, but 100 RBIs type of guy, which is a lot for obviously a second baseman alone, but a lot, especially back then, and a second baseman. I almost chose Robinson Cano. I don't think he did any steroids with New York. I think it was all with Seattle, just looking at numbers and slugging percentages and that kind of thing. I still feel more comfortable going with Tony in this position than Robinson.
Okay. And I think Bill Dickey is in the Hall of Fame.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So,
sorry, it was just like I didn't even need to research this position.
He was the first great catcher, and then again, he was 40s and 50s and everything else. So his stats were just unbelievable. So he was probably one of the first catchers, along the way to do that.
For the Bill Dickey fans watching, congratulations, you have a small fan club. Shortstop, I think it's quite easy. It's Derek Jeter. Do you have any disagreements?
No, but he could be, if you think about top 10 players of all time, he might be in the top 10 players of all time.
For me, he's the best all-time shortstop.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
Yeah. I love Ozzie. I think Ozzie's fantastic defensively, but Derek obviously brought in the power, the average, the abilities that Ozzie's lacked in. Maybe Ozzie's glove was a little better, but I think holistically I'd rather have Derek starting. He still had 5 Gold Gloves and 14 total All-Star games in his career as a Yankee.
Just watch a highlight tape of Derek play shortstop with the jump throw, and then the highlight from the World Series to get the errant cutoff throw backhanded to the catcher, for the outs. Oh, yeah. He just was a great baseball player and just had instincts for the game. And again, think about what he did for the game. And he played 15 plus years, all with the same team. He was, the person in New York for a long time. So, he ran the team. It was Derek's team.
Great leadership as well.
Yeah.
Now, who do you have at third?
Alex Rodriguez.
You chose A-Rod.
I did.
Okay, I was between 1 and 2 with A-Rod. Same reason I didn't choose A-Rod was why I had trouble choosing Cano. A-Rod admitted to using steroids on the Yankees, and got caught. Served a whole year of suspension. So why A-Rod?
I think his stats, again, you have to look at everything, but his stats, when they got him from Texas, they said, hey, you can't play shortstop. And so he went to third base, became a pretty good third baseman.
Yeah.
And then again, if you really look how, every year he had great stats and all that stuff. Again, I think he learned a lot about himself when he was with the Yankees. But again, if you just think of pure talent, there were some great players along the way at third base that were 1B and 1C, but Alex stood out because of stats.
I do actually like A-Rod. I think he's one of the most intelligent baseball players and baseball analysts that I've seen in recent years.
Yes.
He really gets it. His comments about Houston cheating really impressed me.
Yes.
I think he has owned up to all his mistakes. I don't think there's anything he's keeping from the media or from fans at this point. I think he's been pretty straightforward. He did make my Mariners team for their shortstop because I don't think he had any drugs in the system back then. I did not go with A-Rod. I went with Graig Nettles.
You know what? That's who's 1B. And he was just legendary. And what a great place for him to be in Yankee Stadium where he could pull the ball and get all those home runs.
Yeah.
Great pull hitter.
I actually went with Nettles for more of his defense in the situation just because there's plenty of offense in the Yankee lineup already. I mean, you can kind of figure out our rest of our outfield and DH at this point. I mean, we're going to hit home runs. There's going to be RBIs. It's not a problem. I think Nettles is better defensively than A-Rod at third. And Nettles has better crunch numbers, if that makes any sense. He was more of a performer in the playoffs and in the postseason, while A-Rod's always kind of struggled in that regard. So I just felt better going with Nettles here, given his glove.
And that's not your Hall of Famer? That's
That's that's
okay.
correct. That is the one non-Hall of Fame position that I'm going to go with. So even my manager, even my manager in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, yes. For a couple reasons.
Yeah. So that is the only Hall of Famer. So we'll see. I'm sure there'll be someone will overtake Nettles and A-Rod at some point in this list. In my opinion, if the Yankee baseball legacy continues, there'll be a great third baseman that just oversees everything. Now, did you go first for third baseman? Yeah, you did. So I went with the left. I'll go next with the left.
Yes,
because
please.
Mine's a little controversial, and I'm ready to defend myself. All right?
Can't wait.
So Babe Ruth is my left fielder. Now, before you say Babe Ruth is a right fielder, I will say you're right, but I broke down game by game what he did defensively in New York. So I'm only looking at New York numbers. I'm not talking about when Boston pitching and all that. Looking at stats. He had 813 games in left field as a Yankee. In right field, he had just a little over 1,100. That's not that big of a split, in my opinion, to say that he was truly a right fielder. Most days, the Yankees would, today you're in right field, tomorrow you're in left, Babe. Not a lot of consistency. I don't think that Babe ever did more than 100 games in right field in one season. I wouldn't call that a starter in that situation in right field, and obviously we're going to have someone that is defensively great in right field in two choices. So Babe Ruth, because that is sort of a weak position left field traditionally for the Yankees, that didn't probably have a Hall of Famer, I moved Babe to left.
Very interesting. Every footage that I saw Babe play was a right fielder.
Yeah, I know. I was very surprised to see the splits as well.
Interesting. I wonder which direction you were going with all that.
Yeah.
And he started out as a pitcher, and then people, and he was a pretty good pitcher along the way, but that's neat that he went to left field. I wonder what made the Yankees put him in left and right. Was it just situations?
Different players.
Okay.
Interesting. I can only imagine that's just putting different things. I mean, even Mantle wasn't always a center fielder. We're going to get to Mantle in a second. I mean, he didn't play 162 games straight in center field.
I think because of his knees.
Yeah. Well, not even just towards the end of his life. I mean, talk when he was 28 years old.
Yeah.
He wasn't going day in, day out in center.
Yeah.
So kind of keep that in mind. So I don't know if that was the thoughts in the 20s, 30s, and obviously in Mantle's days in the 50s that there's not everyday positions.
And I think a lot has to do with they played a lot of day baseball back then.
Yeah.
They needed.
So it could be sun. I mean, just think about the little things like, Babe doesn't see the ball that well with the sun.
Well, the hot dog vendors were in left field.
And the cigar salesman.
Don't forget the beer man.
Yes. But so Babe's my choice in left. Who's your choice in left?
Brett Gardner.
Oh, okay.
You know what? And I had Hideki Matsui in there too, because he's very underrated. Very underrated, but he was a very good player for the Yankees. But along the way, when I start doing everything, Brett's been with them for 11 plus years. And think about somebody who's been with them and consistent, in either one or two slots in the lineup, first or second hitting. But again, a consistent Yankee that's another underrated Yankee, but has been a really good, steady player. And I have a lot of respect for him. I like the way he plays baseball.
Yeah, again, got it started in center and then moved kind of over. So even their history their current history doesn't have a set position for their entire time.
I think he moved when they signed the guy from the Red Sox that made the original
Ellsbury,
move.
great signing there.
Yeah, Jacob.
Go Yankees.
Yeah, so I think that's when they put him over there. But
all right, so for center, you have two options here. It's DiMaggio or Mantle. Who are you picking?
I got to go with Mickey Mantle.
I do as well. Why Mickey in your case then over Joe?
Because I saw Mickey play on black and white TV. I don't think I ever saw Joe play. But, he did go to Dunkin' Donuts. Woo! And
Seinfeld reference for those lovely New Yorkers watching.
So, anyway, I think just because I saw Mickey play and growing up as a little boy, he was the guy in baseball. And, my oldest brother just loved him. And, they had a thing called Game of the Week. And the only baseball we saw outside the Cubs was NBC's Game of the Week. And it was always the Yankees. And Mickey was the guy that, batted cleanup, switch hitter, could run a little bit. He was a phenomenal athlete until his knees went. But he was the guy that was a true center fielder.
I think Mickey's better defensively as well. Only one Gold Glove in Mickey's career.
It's hard to believe.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Mickey had 20 All-Star appearances over his career. I thought that was the record because 20 All-Star, I'm not used to people playing 20 years straight in today's modern age. There's another outfielder who has more All-Star games. He has the sole record at 25 total All-Star games in his life. Who is it?
I would love to know.
It's Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron
While he
served in
played,
25
that's a
All-Star
heck of a
games.
career.
Yeah.
So he played until his late 30s, early 40s.
I think it had to be like 19 to like 44.
Wow.
Yeah. Because don't forget, he did Milwaukee Braves and then Atlanta Braves.
And then, with Atlanta, he went over to right field, and,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they kind of paced him and everything else, but that was with a non-DH league and everything else, so he had to play both.
Yeah, he did.
Good for Hank.
Yeah.
What a great athlete.
Yeah. Big reason why he was able to hit 700 plus home
Yes,
runs
longevity.
when he just had 40 a year consistently.
Yeah.
But yeah, just fun little trivia for those at home.
Fantastic.
So right field, because obviously you're going to have Babe Ruth. I can't imagine you not choosing Babe Ruth. I chose Dave Winfield.
Great player.
Hall of Famer, obviously.
Yeah.
So for the Yankees, not a full career with the Yankees, obviously, like most of these other players, but he was an All-Star every single year with the Yankees, and he had 5 Gold Gloves, and I want to say a 6 or 7 year span.
Yeah, when he came, he gave a shot of energy to the Yankees, and again became a dominant player. I had him as kind of like a 2A DH in my little list, but I did have Babe. And think about it. Down the list is Roger Maris, who held the home run record for a long time, and he's kind of not even in the equation.
Yeah, he didn't make our Cardinals all-time list either.
Yeah. Did he go 3 years Cardinals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, just unbelievable. And you got to have Babe in there somewhere, so I have him in right field.
So with all those people that didn't make the list, like I said, there's going to be plenty of people left out. Choose any all-offensive juggernaut to put as DH. I went with Joe DiMaggio. Who did you pick?
For DH?
Yeah.
I want Reggie Jackson.
Oh, okay. So, interesting choice. There's another good debate. Would you rather have Reggie DHing or DiMaggio?
In October, I read Reggie.
Right, yeah. In this fantasy world, is there in October?
Yeah. Reggie was a phenomenal right fielder as well, but he can't surpass Babe. But at the same time, I had Dave Winfield or Reggie Jackson DH. My God, what a great, and then you had DiMaggio. Think about that for a DH is
Reggie's off my list entirely. Huge snub.
Yeah, during the years that they were really good, late 70s and early 80s, Reggie, carried that team and really was phenomenal. Didn't get along with his teammates really well, but was a great player and fit New York and persona of New York.
Yeah. Fun little fact about Joe. You don't know Joe. 3-time MVP, and every single year of his career, from his very first rookie year to the very last, he was an All-Star every single year. I don't know if that's ever been challenged in baseball. But never missed an All-Star game in his career. So that's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, the 56-game hitting streak.
Yeah.
I mean,
how do you not put that in your lineup,
Correct. I mean, he
didn't make yours.
Well,
Just saying, he left off Joe.
Well, not in the coffee shop.
Well, on the field is where this game's happening.
But, I just have this just deep respect for Reggie and what he did when the games were on the line, and he came through. I mean, Mr. Clutch. So you're right. I mean, something had to give.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get him in there. We're first man off the bench.
Well, starter now. He's not gonna be happy about that.
I know.
Talking about pitching again, just to reiterate: starter, best reliever, and then best closer. Hall of Famers all around for this one. I went with Whitey Ford as my starter.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, when Whitey and Mickey and Billy Martin were a part of the team and all that stuff, they were a fun bunch. Mm-hmm. And they, really enjoyed New York after the game and everything else. But come game time, Whitey, who was not a big man, by the way, he's only like 5'8", 5'9", he's the one that pitched those games that they needed to win and all that. Clever little left-hander, war number 16. I can still see the black and white TV, but he won 20, 21 games and only lost. They did research, and his ERA was like Bob Gibson's and Sandy Koufax's of his day, were always below 2 for the whole year. So think about that. It's a phenomenal pitcher.
Yeah. Shout out to Whitey for being a veteran of the Korean War. Not a lot of people know that about, but I believe he missed 2 or 3 years of his career. I mean, a few other people, obviously, on the roster we talked about, obviously missed due to World War II service time.
Ted Williams.
But, well, on this list specifically, but like DiMaggio served.
Yeah.
But Whitey served in the Korean War, which I didn't know a lot of players serving in the Korean War, so this is a little news to me.
Yeah.
Only had 1 Cy Young in his career, but it was a lifetime 2.75 ERA.
Yeah.
So just through ground ball pitcher, never given up a lot of runs.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a great reason
Yeah.
to give him the starting nod.
Probably topped out at like 84 miles an hour with the fastball.
Hey,
You
it
know,
didn't go over the fence.
you did not. And he kept him in the games. The infield appreciated Whitey because there's a lot of ground balls.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
reliever, I'll let you talk about because I'm pretty sure who you choose as your reliever.
Oh, you know what? There's a lot of really
Now,
good ones.
now remember, setup man and
I
then
know.
closer. Closer
All
seems
right.
so simple to me. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
Mariano
Okay, cool.
is a closer.
Yes. All-time
Setup,
save leader, yeah.
yeah, setup. You know what? I think I'm going Chapman with the.
Really? I'm
Yeah.
surprised I gave you the nod for a reason there. So why Chapman over Goose Gossage?
Well, you know I love the Goose. I've always
That's why
liked the
I
Goose.
gave
You
you
know.
the opportunity to talk about it.
But think about if you needed 3 outs in the 8th inning before you got to Mariano.
I'd give it a Goose.
Well, Goose was great too, but no one going to hit it off with Chapman throwing 104.
I'll explain why I chose Goose
Go
over
for
Chapman.
it.
So Chapman's speed's great. I think Chapman was better as a Red than a Yankee so far. He's had a few great years with New York, but largely Goose had his best years in New York.
Yeah.
1 year, this wasn't like a couple games. This was a full season as a closer. .77, 0.77
Yeah.
ERA.
Yeah. And you couldn't hit him. Because,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in my dream team, he's throwing that every time. Chapman's never had that low of an ERA.
True. I think because of his control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about blown saves. I mean,
Yeah.
Chapman has that more than Goose, so I know neither one would be a closer in this role because Mariano's obviously got the ninth locked up for every single reason ever.
Yeah.
But Goose sets up for Mel.
Yeah, I'm good logic and all that stuff. And then a couple other guys. I mean, it's amazing what the list of relievers were. But Sparky Lyle was the man back in his era in the '70s, and Dave Righetti was another
Yeah.
great, relief guy. So any of them for the setup with great choices. Mariano was when he came in the ninth. I think the other team said, "Okay, we lost."
So I like to tell people this little fact of Rivera before we move into the coaching staff and the logo. So there's been 12 men on the moon, right? It's only 12. There's only been 11 men that have gotten an RBI off of Mariano Rivera in the postseason.
Wow, isn't that a heck of a stat? That's good research.
Yeah. So if you're one of those 11 people, you hold something more rare than being on the moon.
Yeah. And I think everybody knew, what pitches he had because he was in the league for 15 years, and they all knew what pitches he had, but they could not catch up. And if they did it, it was a weak hit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I think Derek appreciated him more than anybody because Derek said, "I'm going to get some ground balls this inning."
I want to say a lot of those players are Red Sox, actually.
Yeah.
No, I really do. Just not bringing up bad memories, but I do think a lot of those are Red Sox.
Yeah, that was great, great baseball back then between these two teams.
Manager-wise, there's plenty of great options. I mean, there's multiple winning. There's 2 7-time World Series winners in these lists of managers. I went with not a 7-time. I went Joe Torre, just because I think he could coach better in the modern age. It's fantasy land. We're not taking back in time. We're being like, if we could all play together, I think Joe Torre could manage his team best.
I went Billy Martin.
Okay. Not one of the 7. Okay. Not one of the 2 people that have had 7 World Series wins.
Billy had Steinbrenner, kind of like in his ear throughout. It was stress-filled, to say the least, but Billy knew the game, and I think he really had a bunch of egotistical players during his era, and he seemed to manage them quite well. He didn't let them get out of line. He kind of kept Reggie, focused and all that stuff. And he had a tough clubhouse back in the day because of personalities, but Billy, I think, did a great job. Don't forget, Billy was fired multiple times and then brought back.
Yeah.
So I think that speaks of a few volumes. And the other thing with Billy is, I think longevity. He probably, combination, managed much longer than Joe did when he was in New York. Okay. Because I bet he probably managed 10 years, all told, back and forth.
Sure. Sound off on who you would pick. Stengel is obviously a great option. Just do get one of the 7, but you have 100+ years of history to choose from.
Yeah.
Now, only in all these 100+ years of history, you're looking at 4 logos. Dad, what are you choosing?
I think I'm going with the 1915 New York symbol.
Me too. I'm choosing that as well. It's very interesting because we've made fun of in the past a lot of these old letterings of teams that make no sense, but I think because the Yankees stuck with it for so long, it became iconic. And every single Yankee hat, you see the NY. You don't see the whole shebang that you see with the baseball and the hat, the bat, and all that stuff. You just see that New York NY.
Yeah, and I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, that's a classic NY, and it kind of like the New York Giants has something similar and everything else. But again, they stuck with tradition, and it's worked. So I like the tradition of it.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for watching a Father's Day edition of the Father and Son Pastime podcast. Enjoy your shirt. Sound off in the comments below if you like a shirt. We'll figure out how to get you one. You never know with the two
Yeah.
fans we have. But again, give us a like, comment, subscribe, share, and enjoy the reformatted, refurbished YouTube channel.
Thanks for watching.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
He's a good son.